don't know if I'm on or off. There is nursery available this morning also. So Elmer had messaged or emailed us and asked us a few questions that he wanted us to answer in front of everybody else. So joy, so excited. But no, it is good. Thankful for the opportunity. It was good for us to write out. We actually figured out some stuff too. So how first love came about. I actually wasn't planning on getting married for at least another 5 years or something like that. I think about 30, that's about a good time to go and get hitched. That was because I had a bunch of things that I wanted to do, and I didn't think I wanted to drag a wife around with me to do those things, or that I'd find one that would be willing to do those things. But anyway, the Lord brought Tanisha into my life. It was at a youth training week somewhere, and I remember I was looking across the room at her, and I was like, wow, I wonder if she's the one. I really wonder. I've gone through my life, and even at younger ages, like 9 or 10, or looking at mom and dad, and like, mom and dad found somebody. I wonder who I'm going to find. I wonder if it's that one over there. And so actually a few years earlier at a camp, I had looked at her, and I thought, I wonder if I'll end up with her. I won't. Yeah. Oh, I thought. Anyway, and so I looked across the room at her, and the Lord came to me, and He spoke to me, and He said, I see you looking at that one. He said, that one is special to me. If you want her, it will require a lot of humility on your part, a lot of humility, because that's what I've been finding is in leading and in love is it requires a lot of humility and a lot of honesty and a lot of humility to make decisions. So what I have written down here is what made me realize that I had fallen in love is basically looking at to each one of us there seems to be given a quota or several portions of love, and those portions are quite dear to us. Quite dear to me. So if I hold on to those are the closest things I hold on to, these things that I know that I'm loved. And I will go so far, or I will be able to give you so many portions of love. So say I have 5 portions of love, and what I realized is I had never given more to anyone in my life than about 3. That's about the max that I'm comfortable with giving, because I need those other 2. Because if I face a down day, or if I run into trouble, I will go back to those 2 portions of love, and I will remember that I am still loved. I still have these still portions, and I can start to build off those portions and regain my confidence and whatever. So I keep those portions locked away very tightly. But when I met her, what I realized is the cap had gone, and I'd be willing to give her all the portions of my love, which was a huge risk and a huge step to take. I didn't know if I could. All of a sudden, the lid that would keep my portions of love saying this far and no more with her came off, and I'll give you all of it. And what filled me was an incredible desire to take care of her and to make sure that she's safe. That was my heart's desire when coming to her, and I realized, wow, I think I'm in love with this woman. So in all of that, what came up inside of me was just this incredible desire to put her first. I want to see her go further, and I don't care what it would ever take. I don't care if I die trying. I want to see her go further. And so our relationship when we were dating did involve a breakup, because I thought what's best for her right now is if I don't know. I don't know that I'm able to further her. I don't think I'm able, but I still love her a lot, but I don't know that I'm able to give her what she needs. And so it's like, hey, if I'm not able to do that, then you're better off without me. And so I was like, well, if I'm going to put her first, I'm going to put her first. Here we go. And so anyway, the Lord brought us back together after that. But yeah, that's what I've got to share about that.
Well, from my end, we traveled around and sang a lot, and I was always in the public eye, and I was pretty sure that people were viewing me as an old maid by this point, because I was like 21, 22, 23, 24, but it didn't really bug me. I was enjoying life quite a bit, and I knew I wanted to get married one day, but I wasn't really willing to take that step unless I knew it was the right person. For some reason, that was really, really important to me. And I wasn't really sure either how you would go about knowing it's the right person. And so there was a couple different painful experiences I went through over the years regarding guys that brought me to deeper and deeper levels of surrender in different areas of my life, until I felt like I got to a place where God had asked for surrender in so many different areas that it was just kind of an open hand to him. Whereas, like, if God wants me to get married, I know that I'm surrendered to him so that he can lead me where he wants me to go. And I'm just going to rest. I'm going to wait. I'm going to see what comes in life and just let him take me one step at a time. And I wasn't really sure what to expect, but I'd kind of gotten to a place where most guys could not really stir my heart, which was weird for me because I'm used to being a normal girl that, sees guys and is like, ooh, that feels good. Maybe that's the one. But it had kind of gotten to a place where I couldn't make the deep parts of me stir towards very many guys. It was just kind of quiet and at rest. And I wasn't sure if it would really stir for a long time again or not. But when I got around him, it just started going crazy. And I didn't know why. And I was like, stop. We're finally at a place where I'm quiet. Like, no, stop. And so I was just like, well, I'm not going to, jump in with the emotions. I'm just going to, treat him as a friend and see what happens. But they kept growing. They kept stirring. And so I kept waiting and seeing what God would do. And when Benji came to ask me, I still didn't really know what I thought or what I was going to say, but when he asked me, all of a sudden it just came over me and I knew, and I said yes, and I was so excited, and it felt so right. It felt more right probably than anything I had done in my whole life. And so the breakup was pretty devastating for me, but when he broke up with me, I could tell what he was saying, that he was doing it because he believed it was best for me and for him. And I trusted him so much that I was like, if I'm going to say that I actually love this man and that I would be willing to follow him, then I have to be willing to follow him even if he makes a decision that I don't understand or that hurts. I'm going to have to trust that he's listening to God, and I'm going to trust him, and I'm going to follow what he's saying. And I felt a lot of peace doing that too. And then lo and behold, God brought us back together, which I was very happy about. But that whole thing of him saying that he was going to lead me with humility and make a safe place for me to feel and to be a woman, that is such an incredible gift that God gave me through him, because as he treats me that way and makes me feel safe, then my emotions can come out and respond to him. And it makes it so much easier for me to want to build him up and to go out of my way to affirm him in things, because I understand that as long as I'm speaking words of life and affirmation into him and responding to him, it gives him love rushes from me, and it gives him confidence, and then that gives him more of what he needs to pour into me, and it kind of ends up being an energizing cycle. And so I'm just really grateful that God spoke that way to him, that he would be humble with me, because I really needed that. I have a pretty soft heart. I needed someone that would be willing to be gentle with me, and that brings something out of me that just really wants to admire and serve him and see him go further and honor him. So I don't know if that makes sense. That's my side of it.
Next question is, what keeps first love alive? What she was, actually, before we go on, why don't you take her before she grabs the microphone? What she was saying about affirming me, the Lord really gave me her as an incredible gift. At this past year of my life, being married to her, I have experienced more freedom than ever before in my life. And something about having someone that affirms you and looks at you and says, you know what? You're a good man, and you're a good person, and I believe in you. Not because I'm supposed to, because I'm your wife, but because I actually see something inside of you that is excellent, and you're right on. I want you to know that. And so for me, I was actually able to love, really finding a place where I could love other people around me, because somehow, I don't know, the Lord, having a clear vision of how the Lord feels about me gives me the ability somehow in some way to love those around me and care about the people around me. It's been really wonderful. Really enjoyed it. My goodness. How it keeps First Love alive, I would say, I try to go out of my way to make sure that she knows that her emotions are welcome to be voiced, and she has a place to feel, to vomit them. No. But she has a place where she can come and bring out some really nasty stuff, or bring out whatever she's feeling, and that it's going to be met with understanding and not an attitude of, well, how dare you feel that? That's awful. That's terrible. So not having that attitude, but really creating a safe place that says, being able, one of our friends when we got married said this to us, which was incredible word of advice. He said that you two have to remember this: you are not each other's enemies. The other one is not actually trying to hurt you. That was a huge, huge thing. So when I'm tempted to get angry at her, or be like, why are you saying this? Why are you feeling this? This is not something you're supposed to be feeling. Saying, wait, hold on a second. I know her. And I know that she's not a bad person. I know she's not trying to feel this. I know she's not out to get me. And the things that may come out of her come and try and make me get hurt or whatever. No, hold on. And then you have to look past that, whatever came out, and say, no, I know who you are, and you're not trying to do this. Let's figure this one out. I want to figure this out. I know who you are. and we've evaded a lot of arguments, it seems, using that, but also knowing who we are. And also, you can easily relate that back to the relationship with God. Things happen in your life, and you want to go at God and say, Lord, what are you doing? You did this, and this doesn't make sense, and this doesn't make sense, and all these things that have happened in my life, and you told me a long time ago you were going to do this in my life. Where is it? But saying, no, hold on. I know who God is. I know who you are. I hear you in the Word. I've walked with you for many years, and though I don't understand your ways sometimes, they're mystery, I still know who you are, and I still know that you're good. And I'm going to not, instead of freaking out and getting angry at God, all of a sudden, boom, saying, no, Lord, there's something else afoot. And also treating her like that. And when something comes out, it's like, no, I'm not going to get angry. There's something else afoot. Anyway, that's helped keep First Love alive, and then making sure that her dreams come true. I am fully committed to making sure that her dreams come true. I want to see her rise, and I want to see her benefit.
I'll just read what I wrote here last night because it makes most sense to me. I wrote that I work to remember who Benji really is and believe in him, that man that I first fell in love with. Remember that man that I saw and keep believing in him, whatever might happen. And I look for opportunities to affirm him, knowing that when I make him feel strong, he has more of what he needs to pour into me. I avoid nagging as much as I can because I know that will just annoy the socks off of him and not really do any good. But I work to have the courage to be honest when needed in situations because he's let me know that makes him feel honored too. He doesn't just want me to bottle everything up. So we're still working at finding a balance in that, but...
Next question is relationship goals, and we thought that was an excellent question, and so we took to Google to figure it out. But we actually came up, we thought about it. It was good because we had to think about it. We didn't actually, interesting. One goal of our relationship is to provide an atmosphere for our kids to grow up in and feel confident and loved and accepted. Another goal that we look at and really shoot for, really hope for, is to stay in love till we're old and wrinkly. We want to have fun in life and fulfill the purposes God put us here for, with each other, and in the world around us. We feel responsible to help the other person reach those goals. So kind of working together towards those goals. But yeah, so that is what we have to share.
Well, we enjoyed that. A number of things went through my mind while you were talking, Benji, and I guess I'd just like to affirm some of those as we go through here. We're going to talk a little bit about how we maintain and keep our relationship fresh. And when I think about what Elmer asked for, it's like if you're maintaining something, it means that you have already done some work. You've got to this point, and it's something that you want to hang on to, you want to keep, you don't want to lose. And so some of the things we're going to talk about are experiences we've had in life and kind of what those experiences have done for us, or probably help shape who we are. One of the things that comes to mind is you have to have mutual trust and respect. You have to love. That's kind of a given. Some things are givens for any relationship, and some of what we're going to talk about applies with us. You know, if the shoe fits, wear it. Yeah. Okay. Another thing is good choices. We all know how important good choices are, and sometimes we don't always make the best choices, even when we know what we should choose. One of the verses that come to my mind was, "Husbands, love your wife and don't be bitter against her." And I think for me, that's really important. Three months after we got married, we moved to Canada, and that's I think that has helped shape us to where we are because of some of the things we experienced. All of a sudden, it's like, hey man, we're married 3 months, and then we go to a new place, different culture, very few people where we lived, like maybe 25 in the wintertime and 40 or 45 in the summer when the kids were home from school. But we're put into a situation where there aren't other people that you know that you can relate to on the same level. It's like, hey man, what are we going to do here? Probably 90% of what we did together.
Doing everything together when you couldn't, I mean, naturally there was disagreements, but I couldn't run to my friend or even call them and talk about it. We had to communicate to each other because we had no outside interaction with anybody except the two-way radio that was out at the office. Anyway, I'm just going to tell a story about how we did, because we did everything together. When I did laundry, he had to help me because we had to do it with the gas machine, wash machine, and I don't know how to run those things, and we had to carry in our water, and we had to heat it on the cook stove, and so we did it together. And this one time when I was doing laundry, he had set it all up, and then he went to do something, I'm not sure. Anyway, then I was running it through the wringer, and I was finished with my laundry, and how do I shut this thing off? I don't know. There's no switches, or there's no knobs. I don't know. Then I remembered one time that I had, by running it through the wringer, I had slopped water out on the engine, and it had stopped. So I thought, he's not around. I'm going to do that again. So I just slopped some water out, and it stopped. Finding out later that that wasn't really the way to shut it off, and he taught me to push that thing against the spark plug, and it'll go off. So, we started while we were together up there, or in the beginning. We started praying together every night before we went to sleep. And if we were hurt or if we were very homesick, we would cry together because we had nobody else to go to or whatever. And I think that was a strong part of showing or communicating our emotions. Because when I hurt, he hurt, and when he hurt, I hurt. So that was, and by praying together each night before we went to bed was a senior moment here. Anyway.
I'll save your hide.
We still do that. Oh, I know. You can't pray when you're angry. Really, it doesn't work. So don't let the sun go down on your wrath. Talk it out before you go to sleep and pray about it. We still do that 46 years later.
We spent 2 years at this remote place, and then after that we were at Red Lake in charge of a children's home. So for 2 years it was like us. All of a sudden, here we are with 6 staff and anywhere from 20 to 35 children, all in the same building. And you know, if you don't imagine, that causes some frustration and some stress. And so I'm not sure why we got into some of these things, but anyway, one of the things, while we were there in that 6.5 years, our first 3 children were born, which caused a different set of issues as well, because here we are trying to keep 6 staff in their rotation and take care of kids that come from bad family situations, and then had 3 of our own to take care of. But one of the things that came to my mind, and guys, I think one of the best things you can do for your children is to love their mother. It gives a lot of security, and the kids don't have to wonder, like, what's going on? Is something going on here that's going to cause some insecurity?
He does a very good job of loving their mother. Being busy with family, I'll agree, made our relationship and made communication harder. We had a really rough year in our relationship one year, and every night after we would wait until we put the kids to bed, we would go out and sit on our rock and try to talk it out and try to pray. It eventually, I mean, I look at that as amazing that he cared enough to hear me out, and I knew it was a safe place that I could just spill my gut how I felt or how it made me feel. And I would say another thing along with loving their mother is try not to argue or make big decisions or whatever in front of them. Wait until they're in bed and then hassle it out instead of doing it in front of them.
Being in the north and in a remote area caused us to be creative and adventurous. You know, it's one thing when you can run to Iowa City and do whatever for some adventure or whatever, entertainment. Some of the things that we did, like we were 2.5 hours from Dryden, which is the closest McDonald's, believe it or not. And so for the kids' 16th birthday, we had a birthday party. We went to Dryden and we ate at McDonald's. We camped, we fished, we snowshoed, we skied. And when I look back at some of that, you know, it didn't cost us much. We had a great time. And, you know, I know the situation was different there, but it worked for us. Having fun and laughing together goes a long way.
Then the time came that we were contemplating about moving back to Iowa. Our parents needed care, and we had talked about coming to help with that. And we had some married kids that lived in the States. And I've always been very grateful, and I don't know if it's, well, it is God in us, but if it has anything to do with a strong foundation, is how we think alike, or God put us on the same page at the right time to be able to move down here, which we all knew was going to be another big adjustment. We had a 13-year-old son, Hans, then, and we wanted to make sure that it was a good move for him. And anyway, we were very grateful that God put us on the same page with that.
It was good to come back here close to family. We really enjoyed that because it was one thing we didn't have much of up north, and not being so isolated. But you know what? We still do some of those fun things that we did up there. We still enjoy doing them. We sleep on the patio on a cold night, or we go camping and fishing, and it's fun to do things with somebody that enjoys what you enjoy. And you know, we're still learning even after 46 years. There's things we can learn. You know, if you quit learning, why, you got problems.
I just remember one night after we had moved here, I was laying in bed and I thought, or maybe God put it in my mind, like, what do you and Leonard enjoy doing together that you can grow old doing, that you'll both like to do, that can keep that relationship fresh? And then it was kind of like, well, Leonard really likes horses. Oh, I know, but I don't like horses. I'm afraid of them. I don't want to go there. And it was just like God said, well, maybe you could try. You could make a choice. And that would be something you could do together. And so I mentioned it to him, and he was delighted. And I made a choice that I was going to learn how to not be afraid of horses, or to get on them and ride them. And he was very, very patient with me in that. And then we also incorporated that with camping, which I knew we both liked to do. So that was one thing, one choice I made. But now that season has kind of passed. Well, you talked about still learning, and I want to just, not that many years ago, I'm going to give you another example of, he wanted me to come out in the shop and help him hook up something. And I like, yeah, okay. And I went out, and he was backing up, or I'm not sure what it was, and I didn't do something right. And he said, no, not like that. I just looked at him and I said, can you say that nicely? I learned that the tone of voice can make such a difference. And I said, you wouldn't say it like that if Bud was helping you, or Ken, or somebody. And why do we do that? It's our best friends, and we talk like that quicker than when it's our friend.
Yeah, that's true. We all know that Twyla can say some things and get away with it easier than anybody else I know. I think it was good to do this exercise. You know, you kind of take some things for granted, and life happens. But when we started talking about it on Wednesday, it's like, man, yeah. And then we got kind of down to it, and it was good. Matter of fact, if you guys would all do that this next week, we'd have material for a few Sundays, okay? And just kind of a summary, for us, we like doing things out of the ordinary. We like adventure together. But even when you're with somebody that you enjoy being with, you still have to communicate. That's really important. And it's all about making choices. You got to make good choices.
Thank you, Leonard and Twyla, and Benji and Tanisha. I think you make marriage look attractive, right? That's great. Well, I'm not married, and I will not be speaking on that kind of relationship. But Elmer asked me to talk on how do I maintain and nurture friend relationships. And when I first saw it, I thought to myself, there's got to be somebody better than myself, because if there's something I think about a lot is like, I need to do a better job. And I have a lot to grow in that area of maintaining and nurturing my friend relationships, but I think it was a good exercise, as they talked about, just to think through that, and I'll just be honest, I don't have it all figured out on that front. But one thing that I think about in maintaining my friend relationships is knowing a little bit about myself and knowing about my friends, and putting those together. I am not someone who just goes out and meets someone and instantly we're fast friends. If I meet a new person, if we're going to be friends, we're going to be doing life together for a little bit, and a groundwork or a foundation is laid, and then over time, all of a sudden, I look over like, whoa, when did we become friends? Like it just kind of happened over time, and that kind of goes with my personality, I think. But I look at it as you're depositing small stones, or you're depositing small bricks and laying that foundation that builds to the structure of your friendship. But you can also lay small stones or small bricks that take away from the structure of a friendship. And so often it happens at such a slow process that you don't always realize what you're doing. You don't always realize the long-term effects of your actions, your words, or your reactions. And so an example of those three things that I've been just thinking about a lot. My actions say a lot to my friends. My words say a lot to my friends. And my reactions say a lot to my friends. A couple years ago, I was kind of involved in an ugly situation. I had two coworkers who were not getting along. And they were in a place where they needed to work closely together, but they did not get along, and I considered myself to be good friends with both of them. And what would happen is I would be in one classroom, and they would spill the beans about their thoughts and feelings toward the other person. Go into the other classroom, they spill the beans about how they feel about that person. So here I'm kind of in the middle. I'm hearing different perspectives. I'm hearing different thoughts. And I finally got to the point where I started to meddle a little bit and be like, you guys need to just talk this out. Like, it was getting a little frustrating to be in the middle constantly. And so they did talk it out. And as they talked it out, they kind of drew me back into it. And in the process, my actions severely offended one of my colleagues, made them very upset with me. I knew they were upset with me, and I didn't want to do anything about it. Because I was so determined that what I had done was not wrong. I was not in the wrong. I was, you guys keep dumping things on me, and you're choosing to take offense to this, and I didn't mean anything by it. So I kind of waited it out for a little bit. But as time went on, I started to think about, I know this about her personality. I know she's very, very, very sensitive. And I knew that some of my actions would hurt her. It didn't matter if she knew the perspective of why I did it or not. My actions were going to hurt her. So I have a choice in how I'm going to react to this situation. Even though I wish she would have tried to think about my perspective in the matter, it doesn't matter. I hurt her feelings, and I felt a need to go and apologize. So I did. And there was a part in me that it was still very hard, because it was like, you're still not asking, like, what really, really happened here? You're making some assumptions. But I felt like I can't control what my friends do. I can't control how my friends respond. I can only control my response. And if I know I hurt someone, then I need to go and deal with that. So often I see friends, like they'll react or they'll respond, and part of it is out of a pain point, and they mean nothing by it. But the way the other person reacts to them, can really be a piece that will either take away from our friendships or from friendships. And so I just think it's really important that I consider, like, let me try to give examples of my rambling here. The other day I was involved with a workshop, and one of my colleagues she is an analytical thinker, and she thinks through things. Well, I'm not an analytical thinker. I make a decision, and we just move forward and go with it. I don't want to think about it over and over and over and over again. And she was analyzing everything and trying to make sure that everything was just perfect. And I found myself getting very, very frustrated with her actions. But I think it was important for me to stop and say, no, I know this about her personality. I know that she is an analytical person. I don't have to get frustrated and upset or even take offense to it because she keeps wanting to hash this out and think this through. I can be respectful of who she is as an individual. And then I mentioned pain points. Pain points aren't always clear to me in other people, but I find that as I do life with people, and if you listen to their stories, you can begin to pick up on areas, that stand out as pain points. And I think that when we pick up on those things, I feel a sense of responsibility then to care about that. It doesn't always mean that I address it, but that in my actions and in my words, can I add comfort and healing to that piece? I had a colleague that shared just a little bit about their childhood and how that they never felt valued by their parents. So if I know that, can I show value to that individual? I don't have to ask for more conversation about that situation, but I can show value to them and make sure that the words and actions that I use do show value to that. It is a lot in the choices that we make. As in a marriage relationship, our friend relationships are choices that we make. And then another example that I'll just share that I've been thinking about lately is, this is a family relationship, but my mom got a new phone recently, and she cannot work that thing at all. She really struggles. And I sometimes she'll ask me questions, and I'll kind of act like I'm so frustrated, like, come on, you can't figure this out, and I don't really even mean anything by that. But I was thinking about this, like, what kind of stones and rocks are you laying down in that foundation? Because even though I don't mean anything by it, and I think that she understands that I'm just kind of joking around with her, at what point does it cross over and not be a joke or know that I'm just kind of pulling her chain a little bit? And I think we have to be sensitive in our relationships like that. We do a lot of, I feel like I have a lot of relationships where we like to just kind of give each other a hard time. But there's a limit, I think, where that works. We have to speak life and encouragement also into our relationships. And being cognizant of some days, I'm not in a frame of mind to have you come up and harass me a little bit. Like, because I have other things, and it's nothing against you, it's just that day wasn't clicking for me. And I think when we think about our friend relationships, we have to consider that in how we speak and act toward each other. A verse that came to mind as I was thinking of all these things is, do nothing out of selfish ambition or vain conceit. Rather, in humility, value others, not looking to your own interests, but each of you to the interests of others. And that has been something that's been important to me, is that I don't just think about my own perspective. I don't just think about my own wants and desires, but that I consider the desires and interests of those around me and value them. Doesn't mean that there isn't a time when I just put everything on the back burner. You know, Mitch and I get together periodically and we'll have conversations. And sometimes it's all about myself. You know, I'm doing all the talking and sharing from my life. And then the next time it might be all him sharing out of his life. And that's okay. Sometimes we feel guilty about that, like, oh, I'm sorry, it took all the time. No, that's okay. There is that natural give and take that should happen in relationships. And we do need to share out of our lives because it does build trust and builds a solid foundation for those relationships.
So I was asked to share about love relationship with the Father. It's kind of interesting to try to compare it to marriage because it's pretty lopsided. He doesn't need anything from me. He's jealous of it, but he doesn't need it. But to start with, I'm really against formula and procedure because I think we lose the heart pretty quickly. But something I've come to really believe is there's a value to consistency. Am I echoing? Okay. Just showing up. If there's a time that you really connect with the Father and you just and that's your time, just showing up is valuable. I guess part of the story I shared last couple months ago of the time I went through, I'd come to my time in the morning and just my mind was spinning and I couldn't concentrate. And after going through it, feeling a level of transformation and breakthrough, I asked the Father, I said, sorry, did I do it right? And he just said, you showed up. And that's what's just really amazing about the Father is we show up. Doesn't have to look a certain way. And so that's where it's settled in my heart. You know, it is that consistency of just coming and being available. So I don't have a lot of like the warm and fuzzy things about love with this relationship, but it's with God. It's like for me. It's dying out to myself more and more. When I feel most connected is when I, by His grace, lay my stuff down, set it aside, so I can actually hear what He's saying, so He can feed my soul, feed my mind. And you could call it surrender. I got to the point of just not liking that word, just because you hear it all the time. But He gave me the picture of sacrifice. You know, I know it's an Old Testament thing, but the sacrifice of our stuff. I sacrifice to you. You know, I guess this is in the setting of spending time with Him, trying to open my heart and mind to hear Him. And it's so I sacrifice to you my agendas, my side of the story, my desires, my everything. I sacrifice it to you. And it's hard to let go because if you sacrifice it, if you surrender it, well, you're letting go, who's going to defend you? And we all know He's our defender. But it's a sacrifice of a trade. I'm trading my way of seeing it for your way. I sacrifice my stuff so I can see my life, my stuff through your eyes. And to reciprocate back to Him It's pretty natural when I'm feeling breakthrough and sensing His Spirit to worship and to be grateful and thankful, and it's really hard when I'm not sensing anything, when you're kind of in the fog. And along those lines of the sacrifice, He's showing me and teaching me that the greater sacrifice is worshiping when I don't feel it, when I feel like I have nothing to give. And the cool thing about God is we're always the ones that are going to have the better end of the deal. My worship in the times where I don't feel it brings me out of that. If I say it like I have experience, I don't really do it, don't do it well. I sit there in it until I get the breakthrough. But He's wanting me to worship in the fog. And that'll bring on the transformation. It'll bring on the breakthrough. So I think that's the being willing to die more and more to myself.
Thank you, Mitch, for sharing out of that. Seems very relevant across all relationships, is that we do have to willing to put ourselves, sacrifice a little bit of ourselves and elevate the other person. Hopefully this morning was meaningful to you, in that you picked up something on just our love relationships, whether it's with the Father, our friends, or in our marriage relationships. I do want to give opportunity if you have an announcement to make. You have the opportunity to make that. Other than I know that Elmers are going to be gone this next week.